like him or love him or hate him or, don't like him, he's going to be a leader, right? Yeah. He's going to make decisions. And, I pray that he does a great job. I pray that every president does. And I think that it's, the time will tell, right? The jury's still out. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Shawn Moore. We're back with Whiskey Wednesday with my man, Dave Sivulich. You guys, we changed up Whiskey Wednesday a little bit. You guys asked us to talk a little bit more about kind of just regular topics, trending topics. Sometimes they're short-term rentals. Sometimes they're just things going on in our world. Today is Inauguration Day. This is for Whiskey Wednesday, but we always record on Mondays. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Dave, what else do we have on the agenda?
Most of the stuff we're pretty much experts on. You know what I mean?
No, just as
the Enron egg last week.
We got a lot of feedback from that because it was some people were saying we made it up, that it was fake. They said
we signed up for it.
They're like, who are these two dupes? They don't even know this is fake.
Dude, I have one. The egg's on its way. So
well, good.
We'll see what happens if it shows up.
I'm glad.
We'll test it out. We'll give you a review.
Yeah. Well, guys, you just so you know, if you guys are the ones that listen to more of this, and so if you don't like what we're talking about, we apologize. Let us know in the feedback.
And don't take it too serious. Have fun with it.
Yeah, we're just having fun. Sometimes they're serious topics, though. There's some things that we talk about.
And there's things that we know a lot about, too.
And we are still answering your questions. So send them in on short-term rentals that are something we actually do know a thing or two about. So send those questions in to support@odyssey.com. And on Whiskey Wednesdays is when we will answer those questions. We didn't last week, but we definitely got some feedback that you guys missed that portion of Whiskey Wednesday, so we're adding that back in. Yeah. So here we go. What do we have today?
We had
Inauguration
today. Red dye number 3, TikTok, pardoning, and then some short-term rental questions. So if we can get through all that, that'll be a great day.
That'll be good.
So the inauguration today, a couple, some takeaways from it. One, I loved it. I think everybody should watch it. I text my kids. I'm like, you need to watch this. This is history, no matter who's getting into presidency. Yeah. I just love, the changing of power and the ceremony and the patriotism. I thought Trump's speech was awesome. I thought he did an amazing job talking about the American spirit and the patriotism that we all should have and the love for our country and his passion. I mean, you gotta applaud the guy for that. So,
Yeah, he was, I stayed home. I always it was in our family, it's a big deal. We always watch that together, and it's a pretty, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was really good. I thought it was really well put together, in true Trump fashion. He dropped a couple bombshells in his speech as usual, which I love. You know what? It used to really annoy me. His first term, I'm like, if he would just act more presidential, if he would just clean it up and shut his mouth on some things. But to be honest, the older I get, maybe, I don't know what it is, but I really appreciate his just calling it out and not always being,
political.
He's just going to call it out. Yeah. And I do think that there were things that I think needed to be said and was great. And I thought it was awesome. And I thought it was a really good speech. I do think it's unifying. I love the highlight of meritocracy and saying, hey, listen, we're not hiring based on race, religion, your gender or anything else. We're hiring based on merit. Yeah. We're the best in the world. America is the greatest country on the face of this planet. And I believe that, and he believes that, and I think a lot of Americans believe that. And he's saying, hey, listen, if you're going to be the best, it's based on merit. I loved that part of it. So I know you have some talking points as well. I thought it was really good. There was a lot of, it was interesting. It was indoors instead of outdoors, and I think it turned out really well.
The last time it was indoors?
Yeah, Mr. Reagan,
Ronald Reagan. Yeah,
old President Reagan.
They said a couple parts that I loved. First, one that just jumps out was Carrie Underwood. That was awesome.
Oh, I know. She handled that like a pro, right? She
just ad-libbed and said, let's go, and switched that over and just started singing like that. That's like a pro right there.
Yeah, I'm a Carrie Underwood fan.
She was awesome.
I love that. So I was excited to see her come up. And then, music doesn't start playing. She has no background music. She just says, hey, don't worry, guys. I got this acapella.
Yeah, I got
and by the way, sing along with me. It was awesome. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah. And then, we talked about this last time, but he's doubling down on that Gulf of America deal. You know what I mean?
He's not doubling down. It's not a suggestion anymore. He literally said he's changing it to Gulf of America.
I checked, and the maps, U.S. maps, are all already being changed and in production.
Hey,
no, I didn't really check on that.
He's Gulf of America. He's going after Panama Canal, which
when he said Panama, I thought, oh boy,
he's Canada and Greenland are on the next thing he's going to bring up. Where he's going to keep going.
He's got to keep some things for the second month of his
right. He can't lay it all out there on the first. But it was he laid out a lot of stuff, and it's I'm always rooting for every president to just do an amazing job and get in there and be able to be a leader. And I think that I think even both sides of the aisle can agree that we've been lacking leadership. And I think it's good and it's a good feeling, and it's a good look for America to have a leader that says, like him or love him or hate him or don't like him. He's going to be a leader, right? He's going to make decisions. And, I pray that he does a great job. I pray that every president does. And I think that it's, the time will tell, right? The jury's still out and on literally saying, hey, listen, are you going to be able to do the things you're saying you're going to do? He ruffled some feathers with some things he said, obviously. But that's his style, and that's what he's going to do. And honestly, being a great leader is there's going to be people who resonate with you, and there's going to be people who disagree with you. And that's part of making decisions and being a leader is saying, hey, listen, part of doing that is you're going to have people that don't agree with you. And I like that he was not trying. I didn't feel like he was divisive at all. I felt like he was still unifying, but he's being very deliberate on what his agenda is, and his agenda of being America first, and renaming today Liberation Day. It's Liberation Day,
exactly. Baby. Liberation Day is today. You know what the funny thing too is, if when he's there and his predecessors are sitting right behind him. Yeah. And he's like, we're going to get back on track, and kind of like the last 4 years kind of was subpar. And it's like a basketball coach getting fired from a big time program, and the previous coach is sitting in the room. When the new coach takes over, and he's like, we're going to get back on the winning track, and they sucked last year and all this stuff. And you're just like, it's a little uncomfortable, but Yeah,
but you either get reelected because if everybody thinks you did a great job, or somebody gets elected because they didn't agree with the job that was being made. And so that's kind of what happens, right? I mean, if you're basically saying, hey, listen, we're going to clean up this act. And if it's not a re-election and you didn't get reelected, what else can you say, right? That's your whole promise. And so
Detroit, Michigan's got to be super proud of Pastor.
Gosh.
Lorenzo Sewell. Dude, that guy was awesome.
Hey, I told my kids, I'm going to church. I felt like I was in church. I'm telling you,
congregation there is going through the roof.
Lorenzo Sewell, that guy is a rock star. Everybody had which I get it, scripted out and had to read their stuff. Man, he didn't have anything in front of him. He went out there and he had some fire, and it was awesome. It's MLK Day, and he had a lot of Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King's speech. And he referenced it a lot. I thought that was awesome, but I just thought it was. I mean, you want to talk about, like I said, man, I wish that guy was in my backyard because I'd be going to church. I'd be listening to that guy all
He was
the time.
Awesome. He was amazing.
Hey, how about his stock going up as far as a speaker?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
he's famous. He's world famous now. No question.
World famous. I mean, that was phenomenal.
How about the guy that followed him?
Yeah. Hey, listen, they all did good.
They did. They all did amazing.
That's
in
tough
fact,
to follow
the
that
guy I assume he was a Catholic priest. He followed him and did an amazing job.
He did an amazing job, but man, that's a tough follow. Oh my gosh, right?
Dude.
You're like, whoa. That's when you're just like, oh man, what do I do?
They should have put me second instead of third.
Yeah.
But that was awesome.
Lorenzo Sewell. Might have been my highlight of the inauguration.
I loved it.
That benediction that he gave. Oh my gosh. That was, I mean, I felt myself like just, hey man, preach, brother, preach.
Oh, we were all up. We were here at the office. We were so excited.
It was awesome. He did great. I said, everybody in Detroit should be proud, and he should be proud, and his stock skyrocketed as far as on the national speaking level with awesome. Keynotes and everything else. Yeah. So good for him.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. Red dye number 3. It's a. It's a dye, obviously red, that is used in snacks, candy, drinks, various other things. And we slamming that all the time, pounding it, we eat it.
Let's see.
You know what I mean? It's probably in there. It's probably in Coke.
We bought this before the diet. Let's see
before the ban on it.
Yeah.
Can you read? I can't even.
Keep going.
I can't even read that. But anyways, it's banned in like almost every other country, and the U.S. finally just says, "Hey, we're going to ban it." It's been known to cause cancer in lab animals. They've been testing for years, and finally just came out. But
behavioral issues,
which I think is great that they ban it. But just think back of like, okay, one, how many things are we eating that we really shouldn't be eating that are in our foods? And, they talk about being healthy and all that stuff. So I don't know. I mean, we know there's things like I shouldn't be drinking Coke. You know what I mean? It's probably not the best thing
we
for
have
you.
Coke and whiskey out. It's called Whiskey Wednesday.
Yeah.
Not exactly. We're not exactly pillars of health over here with our choice of beverages right now.
But I think it's a good thing that they're trying to take steps to better us, because if other countries are banning it, maybe we ought to take a peek at it too.
My wife Teresa is all about getting like she does not let our kids consume any of those treats with all the artificial colors in them and the synthetic colors in them. And that's what it comes down to. You can color stuff with beet juice and carrot juice or whatever else, right? You can, it's a little more expensive. But at the end of the day, it's not as brightly colored. And that's what they say, the food companies are, when they do tests, obviously the brighter colored foods are more attractive to, and it's all junk foods, right? It's candies and junk foods is typically what it's in. And causes a lot of behavioral issues. There's a documentary that my wife made my kids watch called "To Die For," and it's got and it talks about the behavioral issues in kids specifically. Not as much about cancer as much as it affects their behavioral issues and their ability to focus and everything else. And cutting it out makes a big difference. But there's another thing I think is going to change. I think it's a good move. Kennedy's going to come in. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the synthetic dyes are going to get banned, and I think that's a good thing. I mean, it's not. It's always good to be, health conscious and be aware of that stuff. And, if it's in, we also make a choice to do it, right? It's not as if, like I said, our choices right in front of us that we just poured are not exactly.
And but just to be clear, we don't always slam this every time. You know what I mean? Sometimes we have a sip at the end. Cheers.
True, you're right.
And then we toss it out.
We really don't, but still, I don't want to be the guy preaching, what everybody should be doing health wise.
If I had some ice and a lime, I might pound it on a Friday night, but with a pizza. But I don't know.
What'd you have for lunch today?
We did have pizza, and I actually did have a Coke, but I didn't order it. The guy just brought it to me, but I only had about half.
What day is it?
Huh?
What day is it?
Tony's Pizza Day.
It's Monday. You just said I might do it on a Friday night. I'm just calling you out.
I know, but I only had like that much of it, and I didn't order it, so I didn't want to waste it. The next topic is something that we definitely are not experts on. TikTok.
No, we are not.
I don't have TikTok. Do you have TikTok?
No, but Jake has TikTok for us.
So we have some young young millennials in the office that keep us posted on, and kids that keep us posted on that stuff. But so on Saturday, there was a lot of crying and sadness going on in the world.
Well, it was TikTok, Sunday morning when they woke up and they couldn't get on.
Was it Sunday? I thought it was Saturday. No, it was Saturday night because I was watching the football game.
Well, it's probably Saturday at midnight.
The kids, somewhere. It was late, and they said, "Dude, TikTok's out, gone." I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So next day, Sunday, Sophie, my daughter, shows me, she's like, hey, according to the work and the effort of President Trump, TikTok is now back up. And a lot of people were really happy and making money again. A lot of young kids were
really happy. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of reasons not to have TikTok for national security. I do think that there's something behind that people should probably look into, particularly the young kids. The easiest way to affect a nation is, affect the minds of the younger generation. And that's, I think, what the argument is a lot with TikTok, but also just the data. These are big data companies. And if our main adversary is getting all that data, I think that's something that we should probably pay attention to. But what I thought was super interesting was when TikTok's went down, it said, unfortunately, TikTok's down. President Trump is working to restore it. And then it came back up. And thanks to the efforts of President Trump, TikTok's back up. And I'm like, that is really interesting that they've got that his name is specifically mentioned on trying to get it back up and then getting credit for getting it back up, whether he did or didn't, and what all the details are behind that. Obviously, they're going to have to address it, because I don't know if he just extended it. I don't know all the details about because Congress came in and said, hey, this has to be sold to an American company. We're not going to allow the CCP, which is China, to control this, right, through ByteDance. And so I think that, but I thought that was really interesting to me that he was getting all the credit for bringing it back with all these younger kids that probably may or may not like him. I don't know how that group.
Oh, they got to at least like him a little bit.
Well, they like him now. They probably like him now. Yeah. They're like, hey, good job, Trump.
Good
you got
strategy.
Back TikTok. I don't know that that's I don't know that you're not going to get me here saying that's a great thing for the kids either. Yeah. But it's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Our last kind of social topic, pardoning. Biden's pardoned quite a few people, more pardoning in his presidency than any other presidency, and he just pardoned a few people like 15 minutes before he left office. So I don't know, a little controversial if you think about it. I mean, if you're that concerned about pardoning so many people and within your circles, you have to wonder if, there's more corruption than we believe is going on in those systems, No,
well, there's not more than I believe, because I believe there's a shit ton of corruption, but we'll just lay that out there. Yeah. I think that, it's a bad look. I think it's, I think that's probably a necessary thing for him to do, because I think these guys were all, when if you lifted up the skirt and looked under that skirt, there's a lot of shit going on. Yeah. And I think that it's not something that is pretty. And it's interesting how many preemptive pardons. It's not even pardoning people. I mean, he pardoned a whole bunch of murderers and stuff that actually committed major crimes, but also all these preemptive pardons. And it's like, okay, well, y'all acted like you're not doing anything wrong. And now that on the way out the door, we're saying I'm going to preemptively pardon, my whole family, Fauci, like a lot of people that we probably as Americans deserve to look at and say, hey, what was really going on? But
well, and I think if you're requesting or need a pardon, you got to question whether you were doing the right thing or not.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't need a pardon if you're not doing anything wrong. Yeah. So
I think it's a bad look for his legacy as well. Yeah. What is Biden's legacy really going to be?
Right.
And you're not helping it by on the way out the door, 15 minutes before you get out of office, where you can't do it anymore. All of a sudden, you do all these pardons. How long did he say he wasn't going to pardon Hunter Biden? Right. And he said, absolutely not. I'm not going to do that. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and pardon my entire family preemptively. And then I'm going to go ahead and pardon all these other people preemptively. Liz Cheney. I don't know. I think it's a bad look, personally.
Good. All right, let's jump into some questions. We got some short-term rental questions that you guys have
good stuff. This is what I like.
You guys have emailed into us, so let's take a couple questions. First is the big question whether you should have streaming services on your smart TV, which you always do anyways. But do you have that as well as like a cable TV service like DirecTV or Comcast or any of those, or do you just have the streaming and so forth? We at our Stargazer in St. George, we just decided to cancel the DirecTV and just go with the streaming services. I think it's really kind of
Are we paying for the streaming services, or are we letting the guests?
No, the guests, and that's a great point and a great question is most people now when they go, they know there's a smart TV and they like to log into their Netflix or their Paramount or their Hulu, and then they have all their selections, all their movies, their series, their things that they've been watching. And I think it's good. I think the older generation is, maybe, but even my in-laws, they're 70 and they have their own passwords and their own, they love it. So
and I think that like my parents, they would go down to Stargazer and they'll struggle. They won't be able to watch TV. My dad wants to watch the news. So I think it's going to hurt if that is the demographic. If you've got older people coming in. Now, my view has always been, hey, listen, you should have live TV at your property somehow, right? More and more, like you said, most people that are traveling, we have our own accounts with Hulu or whatever, Netflix and all this stuff, YouTube TV, whatever you want to watch. Most people have their own accounts and they know how to log in. in. But if you have an older demographic that is your typical demographic through your properties, I think you got to think about it and make sure you've got cable TV, because I promise you, my parents are going to go down to Stargazer and they're going to call and say, hey, do you guys not have TV? You know, and I know like they have that other stuff, but they are not used to, they want to at least just turn, TV on and watch the news at night, right? They're that, if they could still get newspapers in the morning delivered and read the newspaper in the morning, watch the news at night, that's what they would do.
My mom still gets the newspaper every day.
I know my dad does too. Yeah. So I don't know if it's delivered everywhere in the country, but my dad does too.
I guess there's paper boys still. I don't know.
Yes. And so, I think that it is, but even my parents, if we decided to pay for Hulu down there or YouTube TV, they would struggle. They still wouldn't be able to do it. And so I think that, the smart, like my other properties, I have YouTube TV in it. We pay for it and they do it. But a lot of people don't even, if they're not used to YouTube TV and they're used to another streaming service, Sling or Hulu or something else, they're not going to use it anyway. So I think you can get away with just the smart TVs, people going in, but I think you have to be considerate of who the target audience is. If you have an older demographic in a certain area and that's your target audience, I would think twice about doing all the streaming services.
Might want to consider keeping it. Yeah. Okay. What about, we've talked a little bit about this, but it keeps coming up. Do you let influencers, social media influencers, stay at your property for a night or two or three in order to promote your property on their platforms? And we had one member, a Vodacy member, come in and say, man, I went from literally 200 people to 12,000 people over a weekend because I let this huge influencer stay at my property. And now all of her, people are, all of her followers are now, my followers. And so it's an interesting concept. We have always kind of gone away from that because we really haven't felt like it was a really good option. And, I don't know. It's still, unless it's proved out, I'm not sure if it's a viable option or not.
Yeah, we've had a couple instances that through our Vodacy family where a big influencers come in. One of our members got up to almost 80,000 followers. It was a major influencer, stayed in their property, gained almost 80,000 followers. The issue was, it didn't really turn into any business, right? They were very immediate, right? Like you said, over a weekend, they went from 200, let's just stick on this example. 200 to 12,000. Yeah. The problem with social media is you have to keep feeding it. People have to stay interested, right? And they scroll about this fast. And so one, is it turning into business for you? I think they got a booking out of it, which was great, right? What was the the benefit of that booking, right? You let somebody stay. Was it just a trade-off? But the goal, followers are, followers for followers' sake, unless you're just wanting to have followers, doesn't pay the bills. Yeah. Followers don't pay the bills, right? That doesn't equal money. You're going to have accounts with 5,000 followers that make a lot of money and accounts with 1 million followers that don't make any money, right? And so it's a vanity metrics almost, right? Followers and likes. So what are you going to do with those followers? And that's my argument, or my question, not argument, to say, okay, what is the ultimate goal with these influencers coming in? And if the influencers coming in, they get you followers, are you set up to convert those followers into business, right? Most of the time people aren't. Right. They're like, oh, I got a whole bunch of followers. And guess what happens too on an Instagram account? You actually have to keep posting. Well, how many pictures of your property can you post? They're following you for your property. So are you set up to actually go out and post, things that are going on in the area, showing people use it? So it's like, okay, the follower situation may or may not be that valuable to you, but I'll tell you what influencers are really good at is content. They're really good at taking pictures and creating content. Right. And so what we do is like to trade those influencers, not necessarily to try to get followers or anything else. I want the content that they create. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by content is pictures. Right. I love the pictures. They do an amazing job. That's why they have so many followers. They're typically really good at getting pictures and showing lifestyle photos, right? The experiential photos that we want for our properties. And so we'll say, I'll negotiate you staying at my property, mention it on your ad. Right. I may get some followers. That's great. But what I really want are those marketing assets that I can now capitalize over the long term in my advertising and in my marketing and everything else. And so I think you have to, that's my, the way that we do it. But the followers are nice. It's just, what are you going to do with them? And are you set up to continue to speak to those followers and provide value to those followers? And they're only going to want to see so many pictures of your bathroom or your kitchen, right? So, it doesn't really matter that you went from 200 to 12,000 if you're not going to do a lot with them long term, and you're not set up to convert them into customers.
Yeah. Well, buddy, that's going to be a wrap for today, man.
That's it.
Good topics. Yeah. Good episode.
Yeah.
We're excited. Move onward and upward, and looking forward to the future. So
yeah, absolutely. So, what did he call it? It's Liberation Day.
Liberation Day today.
It's officially Liberation
January
Day.
20th.
January 20th, 2025. Not every January 20th, just Liberation Day for 2025.
Just one day.
Guys, we'll wrap up today. We always appreciate you joining us. We hope you enjoy these conversations, these episodes. We do them because you guys give us feedback. And so if you want to hear or talk about other things, let us know. We'll make sure that we cover that on Fridays. We come with our Experts Corner with short-term rental investors that are really killing it and succeeding at a high level. We bring in other experts now from outside of the short-term rental world because success leaves clues, and we start to stack on other experts and try to take lessons from other industries and apply them to what we're doing here to build those portfolios, build those lives that we don't want to take a vacation from. So we'll wrap it up. As always, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. We know it's valuable. If you have more than 30 seconds, like it or review it on whatever platform you're watching or listening on, and make sure you give us the feedback in the comments if you want to hear us talk about anything else. And the final, most important thing I do at the end of every episode is ask you guys to pick that one thing you can do today, start building that life you don't want to take a vacation from. Cheers, my friends. Cheers, brother.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast. Share this with other people you think need to hear about it. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Hey Grace, is there a website? Yes! For more amazing content and expert advice, visit Vodacy.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.